Well, I've been meaning to do a review on these trekking poles for a while, and I finally decided to do it because I'm getting ready to get rid of them because they are finally broken in a way that basically makes them useless. So these are these Cascade mountain trekking poles that you can get from Amazon. I bought them because of a guy named Andrew Skirka, who I've learned a lot from with backpacking, and he recommended them. I bought them in September of 2020. It's currently November of 24. So I've had them about 4 years, and I've probably done 250, 350 miles with these green ones. I also own a pair of red ones, carbon fiber, and I also owned in the past a pair of aluminum ones. I didn't want to just go for the best. I wanted to actually have a feeling what's the difference between aluminum and carbon fiber. So I bought the aluminum ones, I did a hike with them, then I bought carbon fiber. I paid $44 for these 4 years ago. They currently sell for $64. And if I didn't have these, I would be buying another set. So if you want to save yourself some trouble on this review, basically just know that after 4 years, now that they're totally broken and the tungsten carbide tip is gone, I would still buy them again for $64. So I'm going to go into some more details about what I've learned about these and how they worked for me. So stick around if you want. Otherwise, don't follow the affiliate link below because I don't do that stuff. Just go over on to Amazon, look for Cascade Mountain Tech carbon fiber poles, and buy some if you want. Okay, so yeah, so basically these have about 300 miles on them. Couple things that have happened to them over the years. First of all, the locks are perfectly fine. I like these flip locks, these cam locks, more than the ones where you have to twist the pole. It seems like those never work good. And honestly, like when you're cold and tired and it's raining, actually doing that twisting motion is kind of a pain. And I like to adjust these quite a lot on the trail. When I'm going down, I'll extend them to their full length. When I'm going up a lot, I'll shorten them up. And then they also are what suspend my tent at night. So I have to change relatively frequently. Now, a couple comments about how I use them. Which skip forward if this isn't interesting to you. I always extend the big one all the way to the max. I don't actually use the 54 and the 54 or the 20 or 30, 40 and 40 because I want the little one, the thin one, to be sticking out as little as possible. This is not as strong as this, and I want to maximize the strength. So I do this one full, and then I do this one the extent to which I need it. The downside to that is you don't get to use the numbers. The idea is that if you want this at 48 inches, you put this one at 48 and this one at 48, but then you're not utilizing the strength that's in this piece. And you can, if you've done this a lot, you can feel the difference basically when you push it down, and you can actually feel the flex, and there's less flex here than there is here. The second thing, I had a friend, Michael, point this out to me, is there is really a specific way to use trekking poles. It's not just this, put them in your hands and use them. So the first thing is you want to go, let me just shorten this up. You want to go up and then down like that, okay? So that's how it should sit in your hand. And the main reason you want to do that, for one, you transfer the load of your body through into your wrists, not just your fingers, not just your grip, but all the way into your wrist. And, if you do, I did 20 miles in one day. And, if you do that, your hands and your fingers will get tired. And so you want to use the bigger muscle groups as often as you can. What you don't want to do is you don't want to do this and like that. That really doesn't do anything for you except keep the pole from falling if you drop it. But you can also really hurt your wrists that way. You can snap it. So go up and down. And yeah, that's the best way to use it. The other thing is, as you're walking, when your left foot goes forward, the right pole goes forward, and then vice versa. It's not just random stabbing into the dirt. And when you start going downhill, you actually put these kind of right out in front of you, and you really stabilize your descent so that your knees don't get the load. Now, Andrew Skirka recommends taking these off. He likes to just hold on to them. I made the mistake of cutting these off my first aluminum set, and I regretted it because I think there's a lot of value in these. I already mentioned the one piece, which is it distributes the load into your wrist. But the other thing is, and maybe it depends on where you're hiking, but I hike in relatively rugged places like the Kahata Wilderness, and you might go from, trekking to kind of climbing and scrambling. And it's really nice to just let go and these don't fall. Whereas if you didn't have the strap, you got to do one of these numbers. And when you go to grab, binoculars or water, they just stay with you because it's like a leash. So I disagree with Andrew Skirka. I think these are very valuable, but to each their own, obviously. I mean, we're not, anyway. So, okay, so let me show you what's gone wrong over the years. So basically this cork, cork is quite a nice feature compared to like rubber or foam. I really like the cork, which is also what he said. I oiled mine once or twice with linseed oil, but depending on how often you're using them, the oils from your hands will transfer. This foam, the idea of the foam is that you can have them at one length, and then if you need to choke up, you can choke up onto this instead of onto this. In my opinion, unnecessary. I've almost never used this foam part. And so if you're considering some that are cork with nothing here, I would say go for it, no problem. The other thing you want to be careful is when you go to put these down on the ground, don't just throw them, because you can chip up, not the cork, ignore that part, but you can add little nicks and burrs to this plastic that then chew up your hands. So be cautious how you put these things down. But anyway, the cork over the years has separated. I'll hold this part, and so the cork has separated. I tried to glue it back on at one point. That held up for a little while, but it came loose again. And obviously it's getting worse. But I mean, this has been loose for like 100 miles now, and it hasn't just spread and disintegrated. So kind of impressed with that. Obviously, I'm not impressed with the fact that it loosened, but I'm kind of impressed with the fact that once it loosened, it didn't just deteriorate. This cork is not loose. So, I mean, it is a little bit at the top, but not really. So the one loosened up, the other one didn't. I don't know exactly why. Maybe I fell or jammed it. I'm not sure. But it's not like a design issue where 100% of them are going to have this problem. So the second thing that went wrong kind of early on for me, is, when you get them, it looks like this. You have this loop and you have this tongue, and there's this piece of plastic in there that wedges. So you kind of pull this out and you pull the slack out of the loop. I'm going to do this one because that one's really tight. You pull the slack out of the loop, and then you're supposed to, you can see this little plastic, you can kind of wedge that back in place, but this loop always gets bigger and bigger and bigger and bigger, and that annoyed me. Not to mention you have this tail there for no reason. Maybe if you're sharing between friends, then you need to make frequent adjustments. But what I did is I figured out where I want my loop to be, and then I took a punch and I pushed out this roll pin because it goes through the side. Once the roll pin is out, you can pull this whole thing out, and then I sewed this loop to be permanently one size. So it's not adjustable anymore. So if I loaned it to a buddy with really big hands, he wouldn't be able to use it, but it works for me. And it just got really annoying having to readjust this loop, every mile or whatever it ended up being. So so I wasn't super impressed with the way they hold the loops together, but I fixed that myself, and maybe you're not as picky as me. The rubber, the plastic up here has held up fine. Again, the cork for the most part has been okay. The foam here has been fine. The shafts have been fine. Never cracked a shaft or anything like that. The cam locks have held up for 300 miles. And again, I use them a lot. I mean, I make frequent changes. What has recently happened is, I'll show you a good one first. So you can see here, try and keep it in focus. So basically this little bit at the end is tungsten carbide, same as my wedding ring. Hardest metal on earth, highest melting point. And good trekking poles will have a tungsten carbide insert at the end. Sometimes it's like a conical shape or like a bowl shape. Sometimes it's like this flowered pattern. And I'm amazed how well this has held up. I mean, after like 300 miles, my brand new ones, the red ones, looked exactly like these green ones. So I thought the durability on that was really super good. But really weird, just recently I did a 30-mile backpacking trip, and both of the tungsten carbide tips fell out on the green ones. So red one up here, green one down here. You can see the difference. And I was really surprised. It happened, oops, almost yanked out my headphones. It happened on both. So those finally came out, which is kind of surprising to me because I know at the beginning of the trip I had them both, and at the end of the trip I had neither. So these are for my purposes, more or less junk now. I mean, yes, this will still dig into dirt, but it won't grip on rock. This steel ferrule that holds the tungsten carbide bit in place is really not meant to be jammed against the rock. So these obviously still have some use, but that is that's what we call the sharp end of the tool, so the working end. So I'm gonna retire these. There's a place in downtown Chattanooga called Four Bridges Outfitters. Really, really cool store. If you're ever in town, go there. Basically the best outdoor shop I've ever been to in my whole life. They have a mix of new and used, really good prices, but you can consign stuff there. You can drop stuff off and they'll sell it. And I'm just gonna put these in the free bin there so that someone else can use them. But again, I've had them for 4 years, probably 250, 300 miles. And they come recommended by Andrew Skirka. He suggests that the only trekking poles better than these are the Black Diamond ones, which I've seen and used, but they're like they're like a factor of 3 or 4 or 5 times the cost. And after 300 miles, I feel comfortable recommending these to people. The truth to that, the testament of that is that I have another pair. These are the ones that my wife uses. So we probably won't buy another one until we really have a need for both of us to use a set. But I thought that was worth sharing. I try not to do like open box, stuff where I buy something and I show it to you after 5 minutes. I'd rather point something out after many years. And I basically have no bias because there's no affiliate link. I don't make a penny if you buy it. I don't make a penny if you don't buy it. And I have some good things to say about them and I have some bad things to say about them. And so my desire is to make the type of YouTube videos that I would like to watch, where there isn't this bias to sell something or get a commission. And also when the person has some experience, I'm no Andrew Skirka, but I've done 300 miles in the last 4 years or more. And I think that's enough to give, a real opinion. So I think it's worth $44. I think they're worth $64. That's my opinion. So I hope that helps you. If not, and you're still watching, give this thing a thumbs down and think a little bit about time management if you've watched this whole thing and then you didn't like the content. Otherwise, have a good day, folks. Enjoy the breezy weather. Fall is here. Take care.